Alrighty, this is our first show, Milk in a Bag. My name's Andrea.
My name's May.
And we're here going to talk to you today about our coming out stories. And, you know...
It's Veterans Day.
Yeah, it's Veterans Day, too. Thank you for your service. We have a bit of a script here that we have, but we're going to try to freestyle it, if you will.
Yeah, just wing it.
Yeah, so you'll hear a lot of ums from me just because I'm not used to public speaking. And May's pretty good at it, so...
Oh, stop.
Expectations should be high. Okay. May, you wanted to bring something up, and I know you were talking about Thank You Next by Ariana Grande.
Yeah, definitely a good song.
I love it.
It was very reflective, and I think it's pretty ballsy. She brought up Mac Miller, Pete, Sean, Ricky.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wait, was Ricky in the song?
I don't know his name, to be honest. I've only heard the song a handful of times. But I think it's great. I think just the message is more where I'm leaning towards. You know, I feel like we all go through a point where our exes are someone we don't really want to talk to.
Yeah.
Never want to address them ever again. But there's a point in our lives when we reach forgiveness and just reflect on it and take it as a learning lesson, because there's, it's hard to dwell on it. It's hard to have that kind of...
It is. And I think it's great because for this generation, she's telling, people our age. Well, because if you think about it, the past few years, we had songs like from Taylor Swift and Halsey's recent song.
Without Me.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is you kind of hear that vengeance, you hear that bitterness, which is normal because...
Totally normal. We've all gone through it.
Yeah, a shitty breakup. But I feel like in Ariana Grande's case... I have major respect because she addressed certain issues, people accusing her as the reason why Mac Miller died. And I think that's very unfortunate because she's been through a lot in 18 months. She was supposed to get married and then had the proposal thrown away. The bombing that happened last year.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things for someone her age to go through. And she showed immense maturity from it,
Yeah, I was shocked that so many people jump at the opportunity to sort of bring someone down who's at a level that maybe they can't reach, and that's Ariana's level. It's just she's famous and she's, to some infamous because they might not like her music and stuff. It doesn't mean that I just don't understand when the world became so cruel.
Yeah.
I know it's always been that way, and that's why it's so hard to backtrack. But yeah, I guess it's a human condition where people are spiteful and just willing to say the worst things and psychologically damage a person,
Exactly.
People they don't even know. That's insane. That's crazy to me.
I mean, before her latest song was released, I should say Thank You Next. I didn't really listen to her music, but after that I actually started listening to her music and I realized, she's actually very talented.
Yeah, incredibly.
She
amazing
has a
voice.
She's trying to give out messages in her music, good messages, some questionable, but it's a lot better than talking about drugs and pills and all that bad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, it reminds me of the movie A Star Is Born. And
A Star Is Born.
What Bradley Cooper says to Lady Gaga's character, Allie. Essentially, he says, you have something to say, and people want to hear it, and that's what makes you a star, Or that's how I'm interpreting the movie. If anybody interprets it any other way, that's totally fine.
I have to still see the movie.
Oh my god. That's... Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I don't know if we got into this. But that's crazy. You haven't watched it yet. Anyways.
I will now.
Put it on your bucket list.
Will do.
Thank you.
So, going back, we're going to be talking about our coming out stories.
We will be.
And it's very surreal, if you ask me, because I haven't really verbally spoke how I came out. It was more like fragments and pieces all over the places.
Same.
So trying to putting it in a story, it's this weird time period of trying to figure out who we were and how we got to this point.
It's pretty wild. I also just wanted to have this to take this time to say, you know, we're comfortable sharing our coming out story, and we want to make sure that listeners or everybody can hopefully find some sort of I'm not sure what I'm saying. Can find, like, I don't know,
some kind of comfort.
So yeah, some comfort in it, but also to recognize that coming out isn't always the best thing for someone. You know, some people are in very tense situations with maybe family members or friends that don't necessarily understand and can react in a very negative way. And you know, courage is just knowing when to do that at the right time for you specifically. Like,
exactly.
And that can be really late in the game, and that can be really early in the game. But regardless, please don't pressure people into coming out. It's definitely it's a process.
I've seen that firsthand, and it's not a fun roller coaster to ride. It's not.
Of course not. Yeah, it sounds awful. But yeah, luckily I didn't have a terrible experience, and I know from talking to May, we had pretty good experiences throughout.
Very
well-rounded.
supportive people.
So that's good. Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and, I guess, do you want to go first, or I know that
you can go first.
Okay. So to make sense of things, I'm gonna speak to when I came out to myself. So when the process of like self-realization, and then when I came out in general, which to me is coming out to my mom and dad. And my sister, so my immediate family. Here it goes. It's a bit of a blur for me. I liked guys for most of my life, up until the age of, I mean, I still find guys attractive, and I identify as queer, so it's ongoing. Essentially, because I'm queer, I love who I love, and I, like, if it's down the line, you know, it's a man, then so be it. But currently, I'm very much on the woman side, if you will.
Yeah.
So what I do remember, though, is having a dream when I was in high school. I think I was a freshman or a sophomore, and I remember just this big white home. I was inside in the foyer or something. It's the entrance where everything happens, essentially. And Ellen DeGeneres popped out of one of, like, the family room or the living room, and then she walked up to me, and I proceeded to walk towards her, and we kissed.
Like, kiss on the lips?
Kissed on the lips.
Oh, wow.
Kissed on the lips. Just one, and it was a peck. It wasn't a make-out session or anything. And I felt, like, when I woke up, I felt so bad, because I'm like, she's married to Portia. You know, like, who am I? But then after some time, I realized, and this, like, after some time just, like, discovering myself, I realized that that dream wasn't really surprising to me, and I didn't give it that much thought. And I think that's when the sparks of who I was started flying, like sparks of what my sexuality was, you know.
It was like Ellen DeGeneres was like this personified view of what potentially you found out who was your type.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I haven't dated a blonde, blue-eyed goddess, so I mean, I don't know if type is the right word, but no, essentially, you're completely right. She personified what I did look for, and she was probably the only public figure that was easily accessible for me to see, and the fact that I knew that she was a lesbian, and I could identify that and bring that into my dream and see how I relate to it is huge. You know, it does speak volumes to, like, identity and like representation in just mainstream media. So thank you, Ellen. And then came on. I didn't give that much thought. I didn't really explore my sexuality that much. So I went on to my junior and senior year, where someone caught my eye.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And there was this girl and she played tennis. She was on the tennis team. And I'm a hermit, so I didn't know her name. I didn't know who she was. I just knew, like, of her, and I knew, like,
I could
face.
Relate.
You know, yeah. And high school's so small. Like, of course, you know everyone's faces. You see them every day. So no
I
big
wasn't
deal.
really like a sociable person in high school.
Yeah.
I guess because I don't know if it was because I was going through puberty and I was being a cynical internal asshole. I don't know what it was.
Tell me more. What do you mean?
I guess I didn't really feel like I had the need to really socialize with anybody.
Okay.
Because, I've always felt like I didn't really belong. But anyways, going back to your story.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, me and May had a very similar, I guess, outlook. I was a hermit. My joys were TV. That was my focus.
Yeah.
So I didn't know her by name. And so I did know her. She had one garment that she wore. She had one piece of clothing that I knew she wore like every day, I think. And it was a burgundy, the burgundy American Apparel hoodie.
Oh,
do you know
wow.
what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
My high school was riddled with American Apparel hoodies. Everybody had one.
Same here.
It was just a thing.
I went to.
And so, and I remember her hair. She had long hair, and it was brown black, and she had the face was the most interesting part, and it was sort of sad. It was sort of sad, and she was to me, she seemed pretty popular, or what you would define as popular. She had a good base of friendships. She hung out with her grade of cool kids. She was a year younger than me. That's what I knew. And then but I didn't know anything else. And she was just someone I would pass by in the hallways. So I was curious about her, and I didn't know why. And I attested it to wanting to be her friend, or maybe like I wanted to be her, like I had a lot of insecurities with myself back then and still today, where it makes sense that I wanted to be someone else. That sort of reminded me little of who I was. But little did I know that later in life she'd be in my life, and so it's crazy. Anyways, she caught my eye. But regardless, she was just, I didn't explore that side of me. And it was because I was pursuing more my focus on just being the first generation kid going to college, and like there was a lot of pressure on myself by myself. For some reason, the urge to uncover my sexuality was never at the forefront of my self-discovery, and I pursued more so my identity as a student and my identity as a first generation kid going to college. My parents didn't really give me that much pressure, but I knew I wanted more for myself.
I could relate to that very much.
Right?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yeah, but we're still on your story.
That's true. I mean, I'm curious. And so not only was I only focused on school, but I also, since being a hermit, as mentioned before, I would just, after homework, I would just pack in the reruns of ABC Family, Gilmore Girls, Smallville.
Yes. Oh, I watched Smallville.
I love Smallville.
I was a Lana and Clark fan.
I was too. So I had the biggest crush on Tom Welling, or so I thought I did, which is Clark Kent, by the way, for those of you who don't know. And then, but I wanted to be Lana. But I think today I realized that I liked Lana.
Yeah.
More than I wanted to be her.
I had such a girl crush on Lana.
Gorgeous girl. She was like, I don't even know what generation, like what this generation's Lana Lang would be,
I just think it's interesting because I didn't really have interest for like his other relationships.
Oh yeah, no.
Allison, was it Allison, the blonde one?
I don't know if that was her name. I think that was her name. Oh. If you will. Like her. Yeah. Not her actor name.
I haven't watched this in over 10 years or so.
Oh, I always try to rewatch it. Always, like every year, it's like binge Smallville during the fall, because that's what fall feels like to me.
Yeah, I was just so sad that Lana and Clark couldn't end up together.
They had a lot of obstacles in their way, for sure. Oh, his other love interest was Lois.
Oh, Lois,
who I didn't really care for.
I didn't really either.
I mean, she's badass, but like Lana Lang will always be like.
I mean, they had some steamy scenes in that show.
Did they? Oh my gosh, I forget always. Of course
I didn't forget that part.
May's crazy. No, I was kidding. But yeah, it's like having a full-time job, just trying to watch these shows and just keeping up.
Reals, yes.
So those were my focuses in high school. Clearly I had no life, but it's okay. Anyways, college, the years where sexuality explored and even challenged. It was my sophomore year, and I decided to declare my major in international studies. And there was a girl in my class, my international studies class, and she was unlike anyone I've ever seen in person before. She was androgynous and just very confident. Something I've never experienced, at least where I lived or in my direct, environment. And she was the first person that looked the way I never knew I liked. I never knew that was my type. Or
Did
if
she
I had
have
a
like
type.
that death hawk?
Oh, what's a death hawk?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's what it's called. Where like they shave like the sides.
Oh, okay. No, she did not. She did not have a death hawk. She actually had short hair, and it was nice. It was black, and it was well groomed.
Was it kind of like the Ruby Rose kind of hairstyle?
It was a little bit messier, but yes, short like Ruby Rose. And a Ruby Rose is just perfect. Can we just say that? Of course,
agree.
everyone thinks this. I think it's a general consensus in the queer community.
I mean, guy or girl.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really matter. She will sway your boat. So, yeah, she had huge eyes. I remember huge eyes and a big smile, big. And it hit me that in that moment I realized that I wanted to be more than her friend.
Aww.
I wanted to be so much more than her friend.
Did you get to know her?
No. No, 3 years. Like, to this day, I don't know her. I know her name. Like, I know her name, and I used to stalk her on Facebook, as we all did. I'm not crazy. But she's, I don't call her the one that got away, because I don't know if her personality would even mesh with mine, but, like, she definitely, she was a pivotal.
I got a story for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So that sophomore year, that class is when I officially knew I was either, I don't want to say this, but it's a truth. It's a truth. I was either going through a phase or I was bisexual. And so that happened. And to this day, I didn't explore my sexuality until I started working at my job after college. And that's when I met sort of what I would call the one that got away. Aww. And you would say, I today say the love of my life, but I'm sure that'll change. I'm only like 26. I'm pretty young, I think. And
you are. You're still young.
It's young to probably some people, but old to others. If you're like 12 listening, then, I'm a dinosaur. In other words. But yeah, I realized I was like sort of teetering on the idea of whether I liked men or women, and I was exploring both. And I had the opportunity to. Both people that I was exploring it with, men and women, were very understanding. And until the relationship with the man ended, and then until I lost her, was when I realized, damn, I really love women. I love being with women. And I've tried the man route, and it's just not fulfilling. It's just not me. And yeah, so
would you say, like, when you had relationships with men, were they great, or was it more, did it feel like superficial compared to like what you had with this person?
Yes, I think this person understood me at such a level that I didn't even understand myself yet, to be honest. I was what I would call is emotionally stunted, because I didn't get involved with anyone sexually or emotionally, by emotional I mean romantically, until I was 22. And a lot of people are going to be like, holy crap, in other words, it was a whirlwind. And I met her when I was 22, and I met him when I was 22, and with him I thought it was everything. I thought everything was experiencing was natural, and I thought that was love. But in reality, she taught me so much about how that wasn't love, and how it was superficial, the conversations we had. Although he got deep about his life, it was rare when men would ask me about mine, or like talk to me, and just like be interested in like something I experienced or something I had to say. And even the men that followed the person that I was with, just because I was lonely, obviously. It was just a way to not be alone. Not to say that men are bad. It's just the men that I haven't been involved with haven't provided me with the emotional security and the sexual awakening that a woman has. So while some of it's superficial, I'm sure like some men can offer more. But But yeah, it was superficial with the ones that I was with.
I definitely think it depends case by case.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, from my perspective, I've experienced both ends, from both male and female. But the more impactful losses I had came from the females I used to be with. So I could definitely relate to you in that sense. Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's so nice that you had the opportunity to experience like both women and men in a deeper level. You know, I don't think I had that. Maybe I'll have it down the line, but
yeah,
it's nice to just, it's nice to be that that just understanding of each other, no matter what gender. I think that's crazy. I think it's like pushing the boundary to me. So good job. In other words,
yeah, good job. Good job, Andrea.
Yeah, no, good job, May. During this time, so when I lost her, I experienced what I think is situational depression, but it was very strong. I was going to therapy, trying to dig myself out of a hole that I created myself. So I became really easily irritated with people around me, especially my family. And one day, my mom and I think we got in an argument, and my sister was in the room. And she was just really concerned about what was going on with me. And I had it in my gut. Like, I didn't know if it was the right time to say it, and I didn't really feel like saying it. And my sister was there, obviously taking my mom's side, egging me on and saying, tell mom the truth. And I'm like, whoa, I feel super pressured. Holy shit. So yeah, I was partially pressured, let's be honest. Then my mom said in Spanish, because she's Salvadoran, she said, I don't care if a boy or a girl broke your heart, just tell me what's going on. And in that moment, I knew she knew. And I broke down in tears and told her, like, it's this girl, the girl that's been coming over our house and who I said is my friend. It's this girl that that I was broken from everything. And it was crazy. And
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of strange thinking we all at one point worked in the same place.
Yeah, by the way, just for context, May knows this person that I was with, the first woman that I was with, and to tie it all together, she was actually the girl that I was describing in high school. Oh. She was the burgundy American Apparel hoodie. We'll just call her American Apparel. So it's crazy how full circle that came. But we'll talk about that in the next episode.
I agree.
Yeah, and my mom loved me just the same. Nothing changed. She was incredibly understanding, and she was so sad that I was dealing with it on my own, my first heartbreak, and especially it being like closeted. It was the hardest thing. And then after that coming weekend, I told my dad over breakfast, and he was just as understanding.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So all around, good experience. Super happy, super stoked with it. Was a little pressured. Not a fan. So, yeah, that's my coming out story. Thank you. A little applause. And now to May.
I really liked how your story had this happy ending, despite of everything. Because at the end of the day, the people who stood by you still love you for who you are.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's what really truly matters.
Yeah.
Because for many people who do come out, you know, they don't experience that kind of love.
They don't, yeah.
And sometimes that breaks apart families. And it's very sad that it would happen in those cases, you know. And I think in my case, it was more of a long-term kind of identity discovery. Because I figured out I wasn't straight when I was 8 years old.
It's way sooner than me. Way sooner.
And I think the reason why I knew that was because... you know, I'm 23 now, so this is kind of hard for me to remember.
Yeah, no, totally fine.
You know, when we would play in like a sandbox with like when we are super young, and we would play like role playing in weddings, I always wanted to be like the groom.
There you go.
Like I always wanted to kiss the bride for like.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's so cute.
My mom. Never really made a big deal, but she kind of knew. She just never told me until later on in my life.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Yeah.
My mom was like, I always knew Andrea. And I'm like, okay, I didn't. Thanks.
And I remember I would come across girls in my school and think, oh wow, she's really cute. But then, you know, I had to suppress those feelings because or at that time, nobody's really accepting. No one really had that discussion about being gay, not being straight, you know, being queer. Like, that wasn't a concept to me at all. But I knew, like, I felt like it wasn't wrong. And...
Did you grow up... Sorry to bring this up. Did you grow up Catholic? Or
kind of Catholic Protestant. I didn't really stick to one church. My mom felt she didn't want me to stick to one church because she wanted to teach me that there were multiple aspects of Christianity and there are different people who love God and all that.
Oh, that's great. That's really different. Okay.
She wasn't super like traditional in that sense.
Yeah.
Because her parent, like, she grew up in a convent, but
oh wow.
She was pretty rebellious. She snuck out.
There's a little bit of May in there.
Yeah. That's how I found out I got a bit of craziness. And I think what was interesting is in class, you know, I'd always think about this girl and be like, she is really cute. But then I know I can't approach her that way because I didn't want to get teased about it. Right. It was a huge thing. No one wanted, you know, to talk about being gay. And I remember in the 7th grade, so this was around the time Obama was running for president.
You were in 7th grade?
Yeah.
I feel old. I've officially grown older today.
I mean, in terms of like grade age, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a old person.
I had a best friend named Steven, and you know, he plays a big role in my life during that time period. You guys will find out later why. But I remember I had this wonderful English teacher. She was also my history teacher as well. So 6th and 7th period, I think I had history then English. So we basically would stay in the same class. And her name was Mrs. Darrow. I can't remember specifically what she said, if she voted for or against the same-sex marriage issue at the time.
Was it Prop 8? Was that the issue at the time?
I can't remember what Prop it was.
I think it was same-sex marriage.
Yeah. And I remember she asked the class, because we had this mini debate in our class because of around the time Obama was running against... Man, it's been a while.
The first time Obama ran was against Kerry. Was it John Kerry? No.
Oh God, guys, that was pretty cringy. I can't even remember at this point. I don't remember.
I'm so sorry. Was it Obama's first?
Yeah, this was back before he even became, you know, inaugurated as a president.
Okay.
So we had this debate, and one thing she asked was, "Are you guys for or against same-sex marriage?" I remember it was just me and Steven. That was it. That was for it.
That's insane.
Everyone was like, ew, why? You know? But...
That's insane.
I think because at the time, people were strongly religious. I had a lot of friends who were devout Catholic.
Were you in a religious school?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Public school. It just happens to be that the demographic was super religious. I heard that.
Dang it.
It's all good. And I remember just feeling embarrassed, but I knew I had to speak up because I said, no, they're just human beings. At some point, you know, God sees all of us as equal. Why is this any different for someone who is attracted to the same sex? And at the time, you know, no one really was supportive of it in my class.
That's wild to me.
Yeah, and I felt very uncomfortable because I knew it wasn't the right time for me to come out.
Right.
So I knew I was going to get bullied. I already, you know, was getting bullied quite a bit.
We've come from such different backgrounds.
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, I remember same-sex marriage and Prop 8. I believe it's Prop 8. And I was in school, and I was fighting with my mom about it. You know, and I was in high school. Like, I was like, everyone deserves the right to love.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, crazy that you were in an environment where that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it was insane. And my friend Steven, he was very passionate. He's like, no, you guys are so blind by your religion. You know, but his mindset was like 10 years ahead because when I went to college, it was the opposite thing. You know, everyone became for it and there's very few who are against it. Very interesting, you know, how that changed over time.
It's quick, too, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Yeah.
But I think in high school, I had definitely some girl crushes.
Of course.
You know, it was the worst time ever because, you know, I was at a point where I was very insecure. I don't know if there was like this condition, but I lose confidence at certain important times when I'm either like up on a stage or if I had to present something. For some reason, I always fuck up. Right?
Really?
And
in practice, stage fright?
Yeah, I had really bad stage fright. Same. Oh god, now I'm cringing just thinking about it. But I would remember, like, there was this one blonde girl. I will, you know, the high school I went to, it has a lot of yeah. So I'm gonna stay general about it. But, you know, she was incredibly bubbly. She was incredibly outgoing, but she was straight.
My heart just broke.
But I will never forget the kindness she always had towards me, you know, and I would be like, man, why aren't you gay? But, you know, things like that happen. And I think along the lines, I was a bit lost because I wanted to blend in and I wanted to keep saying I'm straight. I think this guy's cute, even though I didn't really have that strong of attraction towards guys. And then I got into some relationships, and when I dated guys, it wasn't really fulfilling.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
I mean, I had some great ones, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I see myself with this person for the rest of my life. Because once I finally did date a female,
yeah,
and, you know, your whole world changes. And you realized, oh shit, maybe it's a good time to come out. I didn't actually come out until college. And that's when, I guess it became kind of an open secret. Because I attended a Catholic university.
Yes, I do know this. Shocked. I was shocked.
And I identified at the time pansexual. / bisexual.
Could you go into a little bit what that means?
I think I identified at the time pansexuality, so it means all. And, you know, I was attracted to anyone regardless of their identity, their sexual identity.
Okay.
And that was me like 5 years ago. So the definition kind of changed for me.
Yeah.
I kind of notched it down in the sense where people were like, no, there can't be more than 2 genders. You're just bi. And, you know, I just said, okay, I'm bisexual, pansexual. How about that?
For people to understand me better.
And, you know, to this very day, people still think that there are 2 genders. And, you know, there's a difference between sex and gender.
Yeah.
And people are, you know, people don't often realize it, but sometimes, you know, you can't really teach them.
Exactly.
It will just come to them when it comes to them.
Yeah.
Man, where was it?
I wanted to say, it's funny that you mentioned how, like, when you were with men, it wasn't that fulfilling. Same, and then when you were with women, everything changed. And when I was with that one woman, I never thought about marriage, and I didn't like, I was like, I don't like the institution of marriage. I'm never going to get married, blah, 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 blah. This is all before I knew I was gay. And then I found her, and all I could think about was getting married and having a family. It's crazy.
I mean, that was a good time because gay marriage is now legal.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, here in the state of California.
Yes.
I just heard something.
It was probably just a table.
Oh, okay. Anyways, going back. So, I was about 18 when I told my mom that I had interest in females. And I think the discussion went as, my mom says, so have you dated anyone? Like, this is just normal, like, update your mom with college life stuff.
Yeah.
And I told her, well, to be honest, like, I have interest in females. Like, I've always had this interest. And she's like, well, I'm not surprised. But she's like, at the same time, well, at least you won't be pregnant. So that I will accept. And I was like, well, in a way, her reaction wasn't negative. I guess it's just her Asian mother instincts just kicking in.
She took the positives.
Yeah.
To what it meant to her.
And also, it's also because I wouldn't be the first gay person in my family.
Oh,
or
okay.
I should say queer person in my family.
Gotcha.
We do have family members who are queer as well. And, my mom was never, like, against it. She was only against something if you were trying to pretend that you were.
Okay, I see that.
True.
Makes you act that kind of way. Like, there's a reason why I didn't come out to my mom for so long, and that was because I knew she was a devout Catholic, and we were fighting about Prop 8 not too long ago, Oh,
yeah, that's a good point.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
And also, in college, I came across, I would say, my first love, but not my true love.
Ooh, I do not know the difference.
Well,
Your first... Okay, no, I see it. Your first love, obviously, and then your true love is...
Yeah.
I see.
And to me, my true love, I feel like it changes as you get older.
Yes.
And that's something I feel I'm still in the process of. I mean, I'm in a wonderful relationship with my current boyfriend, and he's very understanding of my goals and what I want to do in life. And to me, that's a very fulfilling relationship. But I think going back to my years in college, my mom was very accepting of who I was, and I came forward. I joined a LGBT friendly club in my last year of college. Actually, my last year and a half in college.
They had that at your college?
Yeah. Huh. And it was pretty controversial, considering we were...
Catholic.
Yeah, a Catholic institution. So we couldn't, like, hold certain events at certain times. Yeah. Huh. But, I think that was a breakthrough. And
yeah, I mean, just having the club.
Actually, my college was a whole different story. There were, I was involved in a lot of our firsts. Like, I was involved in the first sorority.
Oh, there... Really?
And because my university was against it. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was insane. But, I still went through it. And to be honest, I don't know how I went through it because I'm like, wow, that's a whole other story. But, our LGBT club itself, we had a lot of good ideas. And I think what was super hard was that, we had to run it through the school, which is completely normal. But unfortunately, because we didn't, it would cause conflict with religious authority, we couldn't really do much.
Right.
Yeah. So, story of... I guess it's kind of my coming out story, but kind of my experience as how I came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you come out to your friends?
Mm-hmm.
Did they know before your mom, or was it after the fact?
At the same time, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And
you just had a party?
I think it was because when I came out to my mom, this was after I had the spiritual retreat. Oh, okay. This is what I forgot to talk about. So I love going to spiritual retreats at my school. That was like a plus for me. People didn't want to go, but my group of friends and I, we went, and it was very eye-opening.
What is a spiritual retreat? Like, what do you do? Where do you go?
We went in nature, in the woods. I think it was Camp Gulch where we went. Okay. And
that sounds cute.
We would go away for like a couple of days. It was very enlightening. Like, we would do like team activities. We would do competitions. It was great because we really got to know each other. And I think that's when it became clear to me that I could get along with strangers. And I had to be okay with the fact that, I am who I am. And people wouldn't be okay. And I'm just lucky that I came across a lot of people who were okay with it. And a lot of people who were accepting despite, our religious institution. And I think that's when I realized that I really wanted to just be myself. So that led to the ultimate event coming out to my mom. That led to the event telling my friends when we came back from our spiritual retreat. That's how I felt. Oh. So yeah, it's, I thought when I was 18 I knew everything.
Same.
And then, I'm 18 in college and I realize there's a lot more that I'm just grazing over, that now I'm having the chance to really discover it.
That's amazing, actually. And all your friends reacted positively?
Yeah, they were very positive, and some of them actually came out to me.
What?
Yes.
That's cool.
And it was great. It was great because, we felt a connection, and we felt like we wanted to establish a community to be together and work together to have a successful group. But yeah, it was very enlightening during that phase of my life. And it helped me influence later on when I wanted to actively be part of this club we were doing. Because, I was able to come out to many people. Yeah. And, at the time, everything was abstract to me. Everything was ambiguous. Everything was androgynous to me. Because, it's college, dude. Like, you could basically do whatever you want.
While getting good grades, of course.
Yeah,
or hoping for a good grade.
But it was great. And I also had this psychology professor. Actually, I don't know if I should disclose her name.
We'll just call her Doctor.
Yeah, Doctor. So she's amazing. She was one of the people. I wrote a story about me coming out. Oh. Because, we were talking about identity. Oh, nice. In one of my psychology classes. I had a bunch of psychology classes.
Were you a psychology major?
Yeah.
There you go.
And I remember in my paper, I have to find that paper, she wrote, "Thank you for sharing such an inspiring story." And she says, I've read many papers where people don't have this kind of positive experience. People don't have this kind of awakening. And it's very cool that at your age you're able to kind of, figure that out very quickly.
Yeah, and definitely, at your age, I wasn't coming to terms with anything, and I didn't even know what I liked. So it is crazy to see that kind of maturity. It is inspiring. And I'm sure, I hope today people can do what you do at an earlier age,
I feel like in California, people...
It's probably easier.
Yeah. I wouldn't say easier, but they have more access to resources. It's somewhat in our curriculum, but it's not, mandated. And I feel like we have something now called a safe space in some colleges.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that's great because, people who may not have that access in their places, or they might not grew up knowing that they have those kind of resources.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to have in those colleges. And because when it comes to the SFB, okay, now we're just going off topic.
We can always edit things out. We're adding things in.
Okay, well,
wait, where was it leading? Like, you were talking about how
I don't even know.
Oh, you were talking about your first true love too, and then
we just totally lost trail right there.
Yeah. Wait, I do have a question though. Maybe that we can include. Was your first love gay or?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
You'll know in the next episode.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome. See you later, guys.
So that concludes our segment today. As we said in the intro, this is Milk in a Bag, and we're so thankful for you guys listening. If you guys have any suggestions of what we can do next, let us know. We already have pre-recorded episodes, so just to make sure you guys get one every week, or hopefully every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you for listening. This is Andrea.
This is May.
And have a great night.
Milk in the bag.